Okay, so if you're in the software world, you definitely know the feeling, right? Your development cycles are just dragging on, pipelines keep breaking, and that pressure to deliver, it just never stops. Well, today we're going to dig into a whole new way of thinking called intelligent engineering. And we'll look at a platform right at the heart of it called ATONIS, which is really designed to break that frustrating cycle for good. So here's our game plan. First, we'll unpack the crisis that so many engineering teams are dealing with right now. Then we'll introduce the solution, engineering with intelligence. After that, we're going to take a deep dive into the ATONIS workbench itself, see what it can do, look at some real-world results, and then wrap up by talking about what all this means for the future of building software. All right, let's set the stage. You know, the modern engineering world, it can be a story of pure frustration. Teams get absolutely bogged down by all these different tools that don't talk to each other and these super complex, fragile delivery pipelines. It feels like with every single new release, things get just a little bit slower, a little bit harder. I'm sure that sounds familiar to a lot of you, and it's what's really holding innovation back. And wow, this quote really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Drowning in mounting technical debt. It's not just about being slow, it's this feeling of being completely overwhelmed, you know? Like you're sinking under the weight of all these past decisions and layers of complexity. This is the root problem that just kills innovation and burns out even the best engineers. So I know what you're probably thinking. Hey, what about AI? Don't we have tools for this already? And yeah, that's a totally fair question. But here's the thing. The latest DORA report from 2024 shows something really interesting. A big trust gap. You've got almost 40% of developers saying they have low trust in the code AI generates. So what does that tell us? It tells us that these AI copilots, while helpful, they're just not the complete answer. They're one piece of the puzzle, not the whole solution. So if today's AI tools aren't quite cutting it, what's the answer? Well, this brings us to a new paradigm, a new way of thinking, engineering with intelligence. And this isn't just about writing code a little bit faster. No. This is about embedding intelligence into the entire software lifecycle, so we can build better, stronger, more resilient systems from the ground up. So what exactly do we mean by intelligent engineering? It's really about embedding AI into, well, everything. We're talking the architecture, the workflows, the governance, and of course, the code itself. The whole point is to systematize automation and bring back a level of discipline that allows teams to modernize their systems effectively. And this is exactly what the ATONIS platform was built to do. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. Now let's get into the fun part, the how. Instead of juggling a whole bunch of disconnected tools, ATONIS is designed to be this all-in-one AI workbench. The big idea is to have one single integrated platform that supports engineers across the entire process, getting rid of all that friction you get when you jump between different stages. And believe me, when we say the entire process, we really mean it. Right from that very first step of figuring out requirements, all the way through to DevOps and final delivery, ATONIS has features designed to inject intelligence into every single one of these critical stages. So let's break that down a bit. It all starts right at the beginning, in the planning phase. The requirements copilot can automatically whip up user stories and acceptance criteria, which can save product managers just hours and hours of work. Then, the architecture analyzer can actually look at an existing system and create these super clear diagrams and database designs. It's all about starting your project on a really strong, intelligent foundation. Then we get to the heart of it all, the actual development. The coding copilot can take those well-defined stories and turn them into code, right inside the developer's favorite environment. And what about all that technical debt we were talking about earlier? Well, the modernization copilot is designed specifically to tackle those monster legacy applications, refactoring them with a speed and an accuracy that would be, honestly, almost impossible to do manually. And finally, ATONIS helps you get your product out the door and into the hands of users. It has a copilot that automatically builds test cases and tools for making CI/CD pipelines way more efficient. But here's the really crucial part. It includes a delivery intelligence component. This gives leaders real-time data on the health of their entire engineering process, so they can spot risks before they turn into huge problems. Now, theory is great, but at the end of the day, it's the results that really matter, right? So let's switch gears and look at the real, tangible benefits. We're talking about proof from actual production environments, where ATONIS has been put to the test. And let me tell you, the numbers are pretty impressive. All right, so the first major number is, it's a big one. We're talking about up to a 50% reduction in manual effort. Now, let's be clear, that's not some small, tiny improvement. That is a massive leap in efficiency. Think about what that means. You're getting to market faster, and your engineers can finally focus on the stuff that really matters. And that huge boost in efficiency leads directly to this next number, 70% higher engineering productivity. I mean, think about it. By automating all the repetitive, tedious parts of planning, coding, and testing, engineers are freed up to focus on what they do best, which is solving the most challenging and creative problems. But it's not just about the hard numbers. There are some really key outcomes that are just as important. Product quality goes up because you have automated testing built right in. Technical debt is actively brought down through intelligent modernization. And with better data at your fingertips, decision-making just gets smarter and more strategic across the entire organization.
Let's look at a specific real-world example. There was a major financial services company facing this absolutely daunting task. They had to modernize a huge monolithic legacy platform. Now, anyone who's been in that situation knows that's the kind of project that is often measured in years and carries an enormous amount of risk. So the initial estimate for this massive project was over a year. But by using ATONIS to analyze the codebase, generate blueprints, and suggest smart refactoring patterns, they were able to speed up the whole process by 40%. On a project of that scale, that is an absolute game changer. And the outcome wasn't just faster, it was actually better. The modernized system had way fewer defects and a really clean, scalable microservices architecture. So they weren't just modernizing for the sake of it. They were building a solid foundation that was ready for the future, specifically for their big move to the cloud. This all brings us to our final and maybe most important point. Adopting a platform like ATONIS isn't really about just using a new tool. It represents a fundamental shift in philosophy. It's about moving away from measuring the effort you put in to measuring the outcomes you actually deliver.
And this quote says it all. Enterprises that will win will be the ones that scale engineering intelligence. This really drives home how strategically important this shift is. Winning in today's tech world isn't about having one superstar developer. It's about scaling that intelligence across the entire organization and baking it right into the process itself. So the ultimate goal here, the big takeaway, is to move past tracking things like story points or lines of code. Those are just measures of effort. The real focus should be on what truly matters, delivering valuable, measurable outcomes to the business and, of course, to your customers. That right there is the fundamental shift we're talking about.
And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Take a look at your own organization. Are you still primarily measuring and rewarding the effort people put in? Or have you started making that critical shift to focusing on and achieving real, measurable outcomes?